Some men walk into a room and the air changes. They don't speak. They don't announce themselves. Yet somehow, everyone feels their presence, a silent gravity that pulls attention toward them. Others try to do the same. They puff their chest, raise their voice, and beg for validation. But the more they try to prove their power, the weaker they look. What separates these two types of men isn't status, wealth, or looks. It's something deeper, an invisible force that radiates from within, an aura of control, the kind of energy that says, I am not to be challenged. It's the aura of the man who commands through stillness, not speech. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, but the true genius of fear lies not in aggression, but in mastery of perception. When people can't read you, they imagine power greater than what exists. That's the essence of dark psychology. Bending minds without ever touching them. In this video, we'll uncover how to forge that aura, how to become the man who doesn't chase dominance, but embodies it. Because when you learn to control your energy, others feel it before they even understand it. Most men will never know this secret. But those who do, never have to raise their voice again. We live in a time where everyone is performing power, posting motivational quotes, flexing cars they don't own, rehearsing fake confidence for the camera. Society has confused visibility with influence. Men have been taught that dominance is loud, that you must project yourself constantly, fill every silence, and prove your worth to the world. But true power doesn't beg to be seen. It's felt, not broadcast. Scroll through social media, and you'll see thousands of men fighting for digital dominance, chasing likes, attention, and validation. They call it building presence, but what they're really doing is bleeding energy. The more they talk, the more they reveal. The more they reveal, the easier they are to control. The loudest man in the room is almost always the weakest, because he exposes his need to be acknowledged. Machiavelli saw through this illusion long before Instagram existed. He understood that the art of power is the art of perception. Control how others see you, and you control what they believe about you. That's why the most dangerous men in history were never the loudest. They were the most unreadable. Their silence created fear. Their mystery created fascination. Power today is no different. The men who dominate silently, the ones who speak little, move slowly, and reveal nothing, command more respect than those who shout for it. They have learned that invisibility is a weapon. While others chase attention, they build presence. While others try to impress, they let curiosity do the work. You don't have to prove you're powerful. You have to become impossible to figure out. Because once people can't read you, they stop trying to challenge you. To understand the power of aura, you must first understand Machiavelli's foundation, the psychological architecture of control. In The Prince, Machiavelli taught that men are ruled not by logic, but by emotion. Therefore, the one who can master his own emotions automatically gains mastery over those who cannot. Every game of power begins with this inner discipline, the ability to appear calm while others panic, composed while others react. Machiavelli warned rulers never to let their feelings be seen. To show anger is to reveal vulnerability. To show attachment is to invite manipulation. The true strategist maintains emotional opacity. No one knows what he feels, what he fears, or what he truly desires. This detachment isn't coldness for its own sake. It's psychological armor. When your emotions are unreadable, your enemies lose their weapon. Consider the great rulers Machiavelli admired. Cesare Borgia, for example. His strength wasn't in constant aggression, but in the illusion of control. His posture was calm even in chaos, his tone measured even when issuing threats. People feared him not because he shouted, but because he never needed to. That stillness made others project unimaginable power onto him. This is the foundation of dark psychology. Control perception, and you control behavior. When people cannot predict you, they respect you, because unpredictability creates fear. And fear, as Machiavelli knew, is a far stronger motivator than love. The modern man misunderstands this. He believes power is emotional expression, to show passion, rage, confidence. But Machiavellian power is emotional containment. It's the poker face of a man who feels deeply but reveals nothing. His silence is not emptiness, it's calculation. His stillness is not passivity, it's dominance. When you master emotional detachment, you step into the realm of psychological warfare, where every reaction, every pause, every glance becomes a strategic weapon. Because once you control yourself, others instinctively begin to orbit around your stability. Ruthlessness isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. It's the refusal to be swayed by emotion when everyone else is drowning in it. The man with a ruthless aura doesn't need to dominate people with words or threats. His power lies in the tension he creates, that eerie calm that makes others second-guess themselves. A ruthless aura is made of three elements: silence, composure, and selective coldness. Silence unsettles people because it forces them to fill in the blanks. They start projecting strength, mystery, or danger onto you, all based on what they can't read. Composure amplifies this effect. It signals that nothing external can shake your internal world. And selective coldness, the willingness to withhold warmth when it's strategically necessary, teaches others that your approval is earned, not given. The key is that this aura isn't something you perform. You can't fake ruthlessness because it's not an act. It's an energy field built from discipline. Every micro-behavior communicates it. The way you hold eye contact without tension, how you move slowly instead of fidgeting, how you listen without the need to interrupt. The absence of emotional leakage, no nervous smiles, no over-explaining, no anxious laughter, creates an unspoken hierarchy. You radiate control, and people instinctively respond with deference. Most men destroy their own aura by chasing comfort. They overshare, hoping to be understood. They rush to fill silences because they fear awkwardness. They seek validation through constant communication. Each of these behaviors leaks emotional energy. It tells the world, I need you to like me. And once that need is visible, power evaporates. Machiavelli would call this self-sabotage. The moment a man allows others to see his dependency, he becomes manipulable. The ruthless man, in contrast, is comfortable in the void. He uses silence like a blade. When people question his intentions, he doesn't correct them. He lets their imagination work for him. The uncertainty becomes his armor. This is why true power feels intimidating. It's not loud. It's quiet precision, the cold patience of someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't justify, doesn't chase. The ruthless aura bends people not through aggression, but through the psychological discomfort of not being able to define you. And in that confusion, they submit. Human beings are wired to recognize hierarchy. It's an ancient instinct, the same primal mechanism that governed tribes, armies, and kingdoms long before modern society existed. Our brains are constantly scanning for cues of dominance and submission, reading microsignals that tell us who's in control. The moment someone appears more certain, more composed, or more self-possessed than us, our subconscious shifts into a state of deference. This is why the man who controls himself controls the room. His calmness signals strength. His unshakable composure activates a silent hierarchy response in others. Follow the one who doesn't flinch. It's not logic, it's biology. The limbic system interprets steadiness as authority, and authority as safety. People naturally gravitate toward the individual who seems least affected by chaos. Psychologists call this authority bias, the tendency to obey those who project control and confidence. Combine that with fear of loss, the anxiety of displeasing or disappointing a dominant figure, and you have the foundation of influence. When someone's approval feels scarce, it becomes valuable. This is why the man with a ruthless aura doesn't chase attention. He creates it through scarcity. His energy says, I don't need you. And that independence triggers pursuit. There's also emotional mirroring, another hidden force. Humans unconsciously sync with the emotional state of whoever seems most certain. If you're calm, others feel calm. If you're unbothered, others lose the desire to challenge you. Your internal state becomes the template for the environment around you. This is the psychological essence of power. Stability attracts submission. Most people are slaves to their emotions, volatile, reactive, endlessly seeking equilibrium. When they meet a man who already possesses it, they instinctively yield. They look to him for direction, approval, or protection, even if he offers none. When you master yourself, you don't have to command respect. Others feel it. You stop persuading people to see your worth. They start convincing themselves that you have it. That's the invisible transaction happening in every room. And the men who understand it never need to fight for control again. False dominance is everywhere, in boardrooms, online spaces, and social circles. It's the performance of power without its foundation. You see it in the man who shouts to be heard, the influencer who overcompensates with bravado, or the boss who uses fear to mask insecurity. They appear strong on the surface, but their power collapses the moment they are challenged. Because beneath the aggression lies fragility, the desperate need to be seen as dominant, rather than being dominant. This is the trap that devours most men today. They mistake loudness for authority, and arrogance for confidence. They confuse intimidation with influence. But Machiavellian power isn't about being the biggest threat in the room. It's about being the most composed. The man who must prove he's in control has already lost control. True authority never seeks validation, because it doesn't depend on others' perception to exist. Look at the modern alpha archetype, the online personalities preaching dominance while broadcasting every thought, every conquest, every insecurity. Their power is built on attention, not strength. Take the attention away, and they vanish. Machiavelli would call this borrowed power, influence dependent on external validation, always at the mercy of the crowd's approval. Contrast that with the man who embodies quiet calculation. He doesn't need to announce his worth. He doesn't flex status or demand respect. His silence creates respect because it signals detachment, a refusal to play the validation game. His confidence comes from the inside out, not the outside in. This is the difference between real power and reactive power. The reactive man dominates only when conditions are safe. The Machiavellian man dominates even when they aren't, because his control doesn't waver. The first screams to feel powerful. The second simply is. False dominance fades the moment it's tested. But true dominance, the kind built on self-control and quiet ruthlessness, only grows stronger under pressure. Because power that comes from within cannot be taken, only revealed. An aura of power isn't built overnight. It's forged through deliberate control of your inner world and the impressions you leave on others. Machiavelli believed that the one who masters perception masters reality. To create an aura so ruthless, it bends people's will. You must live by 3 dark principles: controlled detachment, calculated unpredictability, and strategic silence. 1. Controlled detachment, emotional stillness. Under provocation, the first principle is the ability to remain still while others lose control. Controlled detachment means nothing external dictates your internal state. When provoked, you don't react, you observe. When insulted, you don't defend, you calculate. This composure communicates dominance more loudly than any argument ever could. In The Prince, Machiavelli warned leaders never to show emotion publicly, for emotion invites manipulation. The man who can remain expressionless under pressure appears unshakable, even if turmoil rages within. That illusion becomes reality, because people instinctively submit to those they cannot emotionally influence. Detachment is not indifference. It's discipline. It tells the world, you cannot move me. 2. Calculated unpredictability, never letting others predict you. Predictability is comfort, and comfort kills respect. The Machiavellian man maintains an element of mystery. No one fully understands his intentions or next move. This uncertainty keeps others cautious, even deferential. In modern life, that means not reacting the same way every time. Sometimes you reward, sometimes you withdraw. Sometimes you answer, sometimes you don't. You become a variable people can't solve, and what can't be solved becomes feared. Cesare Borgia embodied this principle. Allies and enemies alike never knew if they'd be embraced or eliminated. That uncertainty maintained his control longer than brute force ever could. To be unpredictable is not to be chaotic, it's to be strategic. You always act with purpose, but never with pattern. 3. Strategic silence, using pauses and limited words as weapons. Words reveal more than they conceal. Every unnecessary sentence leaks information, about your mindset, intentions, and boundaries. Strategic silence flips this dynamic. When you speak less, others project more onto you. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you mean, what you'll do next, and in that guessing game, they hand you psychological power. Silence also magnifies presence. A well-timed pause can make people hang on your words, second-guess themselves, or fill the void with their own insecurity. Machiavelli's princes mastered this art. They used silence to dominate conversations without saying a word. Together, these three principles form the triad of aura. Detachment shields your emotions. Unpredictability clouds your intentions. Silence amplifies your gravity. Master them, and you no longer chase respect. You command it without asking. Every man carries a shadow, the silent reservoir of instincts he's been taught to suppress. It's the hunger for power, the impulse to dominate, the coldness that surfaces when survival is at stake. Society tells you to bury it, to be endlessly kind, agreeable, and harmless. But Machiavelli would argue, when you deny your darker nature, you hand your power to those who embrace theirs. The shadow is not evil, it is energy. It's the raw drive that built empires, wrote revolutions, and shaped leaders who refused to kneel. The difference between a tyrant and a strategist is not the presence of darkness, but mastery over it. The man who represses his shadow becomes fragmented, timid, and reactive. But the man who integrates it becomes whole, capable of both mercy and ruthlessness, empathy and control. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The Machiavellian understands this. He doesn't let his ambition consume him, he channels it. He doesn't let anger rule him, he uses it as fuel. Integration means acknowledging your potential for cruelty and choosing discipline over denial. Weak men fear their darker impulses. They hide behind virtue while resenting those who act. Strong men face their shadow, and by doing so, they own it. This ownership radiates as quiet power. Others can feel it, even if they can't explain it. It's the reason some men walk into a room and everyone instinctively adjusts, not because of aggression, but because of presence. To forge a ruthless aura, you must not amputate your shadow, you must merge with it. When your light and dark move as one, your energy becomes magnetic and formidable. You stop performing power and start embodying it. That is the transformation Machiavelli foresaw, not the birth of cruelty, but the awakening of total control. When the aura is fully forged, power stops being something you do, it becomes something you are. It manifests quietly, in the way you stand, the way you listen, and the way others instinctively adjust their tone around you. You don't demand attention. The room gives it to you. Picture this. You enter a meeting. You don't rush to speak. You don't fill the silence. You let others reveal themselves. Your calmness unsettles the loud. Your composure disarms the arrogant. People lean in, waiting for your opinion, even if you've said nothing yet. That's magnetic control, the silent gravity that Machiavelli described as invisible rule. In relationships, this aura reshapes dynamics. You no longer chase validation or fear rejection. Your energy says, "I choose, I don't beg." Partners feel both respect and intrigue because your detachment makes them value every bit of your attention. In leadership, your steadiness inspires confidence. When chaos strikes, others panic. You remain composed. That calm becomes contagious, and in their eyes, almost supernatural. This aura is not costume or pretense. It cannot be faked because it's the byproduct of discipline. Every moment you resist the urge to react, to over-explain, to prove, you're forging it. Every time you choose silence over impulse, control over chaos, you strengthen that inner steel. Over time, these micro-decisions reshape your energy field. People feel it before they understand it. That's the paradox of true dominance. The less you try to control others, the more control you naturally exert. The path to magnetic control isn't about acting powerful. It's about becoming unshakable. And once you do, power flows toward you effortlessly, because everyone can sense what you've become. A man who cannot be moved. In the end, Every form of power, political, social, romantic, begins in the same place, perception. And perception begins with presence. The way you move, the way you speak, the silence you command. These are your invisible weapons. Most men will never wield them because they're too busy performing, chasing validation, and trying to be seen. But Machiavelli understood. The strongest force in any room is not the loudest man. It's the one who doesn't need to prove anything. Remember this? Your aura is your empire. You either rule it, or you are ruled by others. Every time you seek approval, you hand over your crown. Every time you break composure, you surrender your throne. The difference between those who lead and those who follow lies in one trait: emotional sovereignty. Most men will never master this because they fear judgment more than they crave respect. They want to be liked, not feared. But the man who conquers his own emotions bends reality itself. People move around him, not against him. So here's your challenge. Become the man whose silence speaks louder than others' words. Train your aura until your presence alone commands obedience. Because those who fail to master will forever obey those who have. You don't need to dominate the world, only yourself. Once you do, the world adjusts accordingly. That's Machiavelli's final truth. Power isn't taken, it's projected.